And now the game's just a fucking slideshow.
Victory.
Honestly, I'm actually really fucking annoyed right now. Not even annoyed at the game for, like, killing me. I'm annoyed at the game for lagging so much. It's on my SSD. I've got the specs to run this game twice over. And it's lagging for no fucking reason. You have true seeing. That means you shouldn't have a fucking issue hitting shit, you pillock.
I will see this through.
Try that one more fucking time, and then we'll lower the difficulty, because it's a bit stupid.
He was just an echo.
Okay, I close Worldwound.
It does not matter. No.
Bring us straight to the fight, preferably, game. Fine, this time I'll try to kill these dickheads first. But with how my rolls have been going, I doubt I will be able to kill any of them. Yeah, we can't really dismiss them when they're in their own round. How do you de-level someone you can't fucking see? Yeah, I've got to stop pressing space. I think that's what's lagging it out worse than anything, is the fact that it's technically going on fucking supersonic speeds.
Simply business.
All we need to do is get back to my turn again. Holy shit, -4 fucking levels. That's a lot of fucking levels to lose. And now their AC's 20 again. Let me guess, you no longer have true seeing? No, he does. It just... Their AC is suddenly fucking stupidly high. Yeah, Deskari hasn't even took fucking damage yet. Who lost 4 levels? We'll counter profane him for now.
Prepare yourself.
How are they I press space again. I've got to stop getting into the habit of doing that. You know what? Hand in pocket. I don't get to use anything but the mouse. Because the mouse... I'm lagging the game out by doing that. Someone tell me why I'm not getting to use you. Oh, she's shaken. And Arushale is dead. And so is Darian. I don't know when the fuck that happened, but alright. I literally do not know what's fucking going on.
Endure this.
And yeah, I don't get this. Yeah, honestly, this fight's just pointless. We're gonna lose it no matter what we do.
This is not my time yet. Forgive me for this failure.
Yeah. I apologize, guys at home. But we're gonna be just turning the difficulty down because that's just stupidly unfair. I love Pathfinder, but no matter what I do, I just can't seem to. I feel like I play this game in so many bursts that I just forget all the shit that you're meant to do. So this is my own fault for being bad, but my own fault or not, we're just gonna lower the difficulty and just deal, just so I can get the end in, just put the casual, whatever. I'm not looking for achievements. I'm just looking to kind of get this over and done with now.
It does not know. Another obstacle.
Oh wow, Deskari got to go first this time. Yeah, they have like no health now, so it just feels cheap doing it this way, but oh well. At this point, I am kind of only interested in the story, so. I mean, the real question is, will it actually, will this still be enough?
I will resist.
Hey, Deskari, fuck you. Yeah. Story's just too easy. Like, that was just too easy.
yourself. Disappear.
Out of my sight.
A ray of golden light
Know
illuminates
that
your
I will
face.
be happy to welcome you into heaven after your earthly deeds are completed, if you so desire.
You hear a solemn choir singing somewhere in the distance. A shining road appears before you, leading heavensward. The words of the goddess appear in your mind unbidden.
They are waiting for you there, in the halls of heaven, where true angels belong.
Hagona gazes at the light and smiles softly.
The legions of heaven are in need of a new commander. Someone who will defend the innocent and remain steadfast in the face of evil. Will you accept my invitation? The gates of heaven await your arrival.
You hear the voice of the goddess again, but this time it's not a memory, this time it's real. I told my companions that I would return to Dresden once the Worldwound was closed. I promised to help restore order to make a city of goodness and light. I cannot break my promise.
It's all over. The Worldwound is closed and Deskari has been destroyed. The Rasping Rifts no longer have a Demon Lord, but a new monster could lay claim to this realm. Is there anything else you would like to do before we leave this abode of evil and horror?
Let everything burn in a cleansing fire. A bright light streams from your hand. It transforms to a burning flame that consumes every surface it touches. This fire is from the upper planes or the depths of your heart. Can you reduce the wraps and risks to smoldering ruins? Ash and smoke will be all that remains of Deskari's former realm.
Let this be a lesson to every Demon Lord. They cannot torment the mortal world with impunity. Commander, today you have achieved the greatest victory of all. Your crusade is over, but your story is not finished. Your future awaits. Your glory will live on through the ages.
A light breeze caresses your face, a breath of fresh air after everything you have endured. The homeworld of Golarion eagerly awaits your return. There will be no more long battles, no more pain or exhaustion. A new future awaits, a future full of hope and promise. Yeah, I did it, but I had to lower the difficulty to story. Something I still feel very bad about, but honestly, we were not gonna, no matter how much I tried, I could have poured hours in and we were not gonna get past those two fights. Life and death, destiny and great deeds, answers to mystery, the search for one's true path. The mind can comprehend all of these, and then such concepts can be written down, and as a sequence of formulas, a series of lines, a chain of thoughts. Still, a moment always comes when it is time to wrap up, to reach a conclusion, to put a period at the end of the last sentence. The impossible rift, the bleeding wound that had tormented all of Golarion for 100 years was finally healed. The life and soul of the one who inflicted this wound upon the world became the salve. With the death of the witch Arulu Luvaresh, the Worldwound she had created vanished as well. The holy flame that engulfed the Rasping Rifts was felt throughout the abyss. The anger and fear that overtook many abyssal lords almost led to the creation of a coalition against heaven. But like many other demonic undertakings, this alliance crumbled to dust under the weight of its strife. Even heaven had never known a greater miracle than that of the mortal who had vanquished the demonic power seeded in him by another to ultimately become an angel, a true champion of Golarion. The Fifth Crusade may not have lasted long, but in that short time Dresden became the commander's city, his bulwark, his citadel. Unsurprisingly, he remained the ruler of the city and the surrounding lands after the spectacular victory at Threshold. The impact that the commander had made upon the world was not confined to the elimination of the wound. Across all of Golarion, thousands of hearts were now aglow with the light of compassion. Songs and legends about the commanders spread across nations and cities, giving hope to the despondent, urging people to help each other in times of need. The Holy Wardens preserved their brotherhood and would often launch raids against cultists and demons who still sulked about the land. The two seasoned paladins, Yaniel and Berengier, came to enjoy each other's company both in battle and in peace. Their age, similar personalities, and unusual fates brought them close together. Wherever they appeared, they would always be followed by a crowd of young warriors and curious onlookers, all of whom craved to hear the stories of, or imbibe some of their wisdom and skill. Despite all of Katir's efforts, word that he was alive quickly spread amongst current refugees. It eventually reached the ears of his wife. She had grown old, but lived still. And one day they met again under the stone tree, after having spent almost 100 years apart. Elandria, who'd given almost her entire life over to duty, devoted herself to the revival of the former lands of Socorus. Temples of Pelura and other Socorian deities opened their doors once more, and the priests were eager to help heal the wounds of the people of the land. As a leader of the Crusaders, the commander won their loyalty and obedience. Even in the Crusade's darkest hour, the commander found ways to restore the army supply lines. His military acumen was beyond question. Under his leadership, the divided, poorly trained Crusader forces were forged into an invincible army. Due to the success of the commander's diplomatic strategy, by the end of the war, Mendev's true political center was Dresden, not Nirison. After gaining the support of foreign rulers and finding all allies in the capital, Dresden became the shining example of the new Mendev, one that was nurtured by the commander's ideas. The significance and accomplishments of the Crusaders were so great that even a century after the end of the war, Dresden retained its prominence on the map of Avistan. The commander's diplomatic, military, and administrative talent turned the fortress into a key political player. Queen Galfrey returned to Nirison with the intent to rule Mendev as before, but it turned out Mendevian society was hungry for change. The war-ravaged nation desired new leadership, but the queen would not countenance yielding authority to anyone else. She believed her duty to her homeland had not yet been fulfilled. Quite a few Mendevians wanted to see Darren Arenday inherit the throne. The ward stone from the chain that had once guided the borders of Mendev were carefully disassembled one by one. The angels who had been trapped inside returned to heaven to heal their wounded spirit and prepare for new battles against evil. The victory over the Worldwound changed many things, not just on Galarin, but in the Midnight Isles as well. Nocticula spent many days pondering the words of a certain young and fearless prophet. Before long, the Lady in Shadow openly renounced her claimed realm and named herself the Redeemer Queen. This revolt against her own demonic nature transformed Nocticula, severed her ties to the Abyss, and brought her to Elysium. There, upon creating a realm named Midnight's Palette, the Redeemer Queen attained divine power and became a patroness of exiles. The now vacant throne was instantly seized by Shamira, the Ardent Dream. However, her power could not compare to the Night of the Lady in Shadow. The Midnight Isles, which had become a tempting prize for many demons, was plunged into chaos. The commander celebrated his victory over Arishkagal. Little did he know that some demon lords go as far as forfeiting their own life to achieve their ends. The mask of the inscrutable Arishkagal remained in the possession of the commander of the 5th Crusade until the very end. He refused to, or could not find the strength to discard the sinister item, and shortly after the Battle of Threshold, he began disappearing for days at a time, then suddenly returning, unable to recall what had happened to him. The Demon Lord Baphomet suffered a defeat, the Worldwound was closed, and the convenient passage to Galarin was sealed along with it. Baphomet shifted his attention to the realms of the other Demon Lords. A seal of the Templars of his library lab was soon discovered in Elau Shinra. The Demon Lord Deskari died his final death, and his cult perished with him. His followers and demonic minions entered the service of Deskari's sire, Pazuzu. Whether Pazuzu's terrifying rage stemmed from his offspring's demise or his failure, none can tell. The Terrorblades were adamant about retiring from military service, leaving it all behind and escaping together. But urgent Eagle Watch business forced them to stay for a week, then for a month, then for many years. Even as Anevia cursed their lot, however, her eyes would shine with pride as she always was always the first to admit that Irabeth was not the kind of person who could just up and retire. The Dretch under the Sutra never made peace with the loss of his mistress. He retreated to Old Laboratory, where he wandered the empty halls, activating the magical projectors again and again. For in their pale light, there still lived an image of the one who had become so important to the solitary demon. Having rediscovered his own story, the storyteller renounced his fragile body to ascend Pharasma's palace and become her usher. From that day onward, he took great care of the stories of all the souls that arrived at the court of the Lady of Graves. There in the halls of the Lady of Graves, the storyteller met the one who had been waiting for him, Kinney, thief of secrets. Arishkigal's prisoner, old friend and well-meaning traitor, and never was there a reunion more treasured. Once again, Sheila heard the call for the open road. Even a valiant paladin can be prone to self-doubt after everything that had happened to her. Sheila wanted to sort out her own conflicting thoughts and emotions on her own. The war was over, but Lan still did not feel his duty was truly done. He had intended to die in the war, but for reasons unknown to him, his life just went on and on. He helped the mongrels find their place in the surface world and kept putting off his dream of going on a sea voyage. His dream was never realized. After the victory, Ember simply sat for a long time, staring at the tongues of flame dancing in her hands. Her new powers frightened her. The awestruck redeemed were ready to hang on her every word, and that frightened her even more. She left without saying goodbye to anyone and continued her endless wayfaring along the roads of Golarion, helping the distressed and punishing evildoers. Many worshipped her as a saint, but she always would respond, "Please, I'm just an ordinary girl." Soon after the war, the tireless researcher of all things researchable embarked on a new journey. She had a sudden urge to know how much time it would take to visit every nation on Golarion. She returned after a year and a half with a pile of notes, which she promptly handed over to her assistant. After all, someone had to help her compile entries for the first volume of her Encyclopedia Glenarica. It only made sense for her assistant to help, given that one of her entries was dedicated to him, the commander of the Fifth Crusade, who had made Golarion history. Darian Arandre embraced his new life, one that was free of the other. He became more mature, his smile grew colder, and his choices diversions more elaborate, and he acquitted an imperious streak. Inquisitor Little's blood seemed to have let the darkness into Darian's soul. I had always dwelt there. Whatever the case, in that darkness he was free and happy as never before. He lost his respect. He never lost his respect, or should that be his fondness, for the commander, and would often visit him in Dresden. To his own surprise, Woljif Jefto became a war hero. Esteem and fame was shortly followed by great wealth. The tiefling did not let his newfound fortune turn his head, but chose to invest the money in several profitable ventures and one charity for street urchins. Within a few years, his significant style came to be included on the top hat, cane, and a bit of a belly. There was a lot of talk of the taverns of Albusum about the time, soon after the end of the war, when Woljif appeared in the city in the company of Count Darian Arande. It remains unclear whether Darian treated the tiefling as a wayward younger brother or as a court jester, but he took pleasure in showing him the world. The third person in the group was rumored to be the commander himself. After the victory, Dosiel returned home. He humbly officiated at the Temple of Shaylin, painted, grew sweet-smelling fruits, and he made the best wine in the region. He disliked talking about war. When asked, he would tersely say that no good came of wars, and those who stored glory in them would find only death. He would always use his brother Trevor as an example of someone who dreamed of becoming a hero and was swallowed up by the Worldwound, vanishing without a trace. Regiel wrote a treatise on waging war against the demons, both a practical manual and a philosophical exhibition. And once that was done, he succumbed to the bleaching completely. He was posthumously reinstated in his order and burned with honors in the officers' cemetery. The treaty was used in all future wars against the Abyss by mortals, angels, and devils alike. Before he died, he managed to send a letter to the commander. Did it contain sincere farewells or a list of directives? Impossible to say. No one was privy to the context except the recipient. After the victory of the Worldwound, Greyboar did not return to his former profession. After all, the war had shown him that gold was not good enough to reason to kill. Greyboar went wandering, and every time he encountered dishonorable and scrupulous behavior, he would not deny himself the pleasure of a confrontation. In Avestan, the brave dwarf was reputed to be a noble knight-errant, but wherever he heard such a thing, he would just let out a good-natured chuckle. He simply enjoyed a good fight. Arushale had managed to change her nature, completely ridding herself of evil, but she would not dare to live among mortals. She took up residence in a small house away from their settlement. Shortly afterwards, rumors began to spread. Some said there was a kind sorceress living in the cottage, or perhaps a reclusive saint, and people would come asking for help. She never refused anyone, and in time she earned their trust and friendship. When the former demon was not busy helping mortals, she spent time with the commander, who often visited her at her house. They had nothing to hide or be ashamed of, and yet, in her shyness, Arushale tried to conceal their relationship from prying eyes.
And of me the writer of these words. The half-demon witch known as the architect of the Worldwound. I was defeated and fell at the hand of the one I had tried to transform. My experiment ended in failure, and my life ended along with it. I have recounted the story of my life for you, Pharasma, Lady of Graves. Not only of my life, but of the Commander's also. I believe the tale of such an illustrious figure would pique even a goddess's curiosity. Now you know everything. I await your verdict, goddess.
Silence hangs over the boneyard. The Lady of Graves is weighing her decision, and it seems the entire universe is holding its breath, awaiting her pronouncement. Who would dare to break the silence so absolute? I would. Though you are no longer here, your mythic powers entitled you to a say in this trial. I appeal to your mercy. Plains have suffered enough. Do not add to the evil already wrought by yet another act of evil. The words ring out in the silence. They are heard, considered, and given their due weight.
The laws of the universe have existed for millennia. They are incontrovertible. But even they allow the decider of fate some degree of influence over the verdict. You wrought great evil, while it stemmed from the evil that was done to you. Your actions far exceeded it. Your soul is dark, and there is only one place for you in the universe. And yet, the one whom you harmed most of all now appeals to me on your behalf. I shall send you to the Maelstrom, the plane on the edge of the world. A place to which the gods' gazes do not stray. There you will find yourself. Or you will perish in the whirlwind of chaos that is your soul. So be it.
Oh, let me walk around. Fuck. The end. Truly a great tale. If only the last two fights weren't so hard. But like that, we unfortunately have come to the end of this Let's Play. I do greatly apologize that the last two fights were played on story, but we attempted them once on normal, and honestly, if I had more hours to spare, I would have tried multiple times on normal, but those fights were just not possible with my level of understanding of the game. Now, there are people out there who understand the game better than I and are far better at this game than I, but I am not that player. I didn't really feel like... I don't know why I dropped it down to story. I should have just dropped it down to core, which I believe... Wait, no, not core. I should have dropped it down to whatever the difficulty is underneath maxed out graphics again. I should have turned the difficulty to casual instead of story. But even that is like half the difficulty. It's just... It is what it is, but unfortunately, that is the end of this campaign. I hope you guys truly did enjoy Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous. It honestly is a great game. I do think there are sometimes balancing issues, and I think the end of the game... I don't know if I just didn't prepare enough and just rushed into it a little bit too much, or if I truly just lacked some base concept, which I know that it is very sometimes hard to understand the ACs and trying to counteract them and trying to figure out the different ACs and which works best. And there is a lot more thought in it than sometimes you would necessarily realize, but it is what it is, and it's still very much an enjoyable game, and I fully intend to play through it again at some point. But for now, we're going to leave it here. I hope you guys, like I said, all enjoyed, and the next stream will be the start of the next game. I have no clue what I'm going to be playing for the next stream. But I truly hope all of you have enjoyed, and I will see you all in whatever comes next. Ever that is, we'll see. But I will see you all then, hopefully. Have a great evening, everyone, and a great day, and a great week, and whatever else. Like I said, I'll see you in the next one.